but I appreciate your pick.
Hey, sports fans, PBC Sports Chaos, a little behind the scenes. PB is setting up. Is makeup all set? You good?
I think so. Actually, too much sunlight.
Oh, my God. All right. As PB gets ready, fans, I will talk to you about what we're going to talk this week. It's World Series weekend. By the way, I'm very disappointed. MLB, why wait 5 freaking days before you start the World Series? This should have been started Tuesday night, and we should have been already into Game 3 by now. But it's baloney. Now you're going to have to compete with college football in the NFL. Bad move, MLB. Hey, it's also Halloween. That's why I got my mask on. I'm super patriot. I'm also former Patriot Brady. We'll talk about that momentarily. Because as you know, the demise of Brady is happening very, very fast in front of our eyes. By the way, the demise of Brady, the husband of a supermodel, has already happened as of today, 12 o'clock. He's a single man, right? It's over. Filed in Florida, I'm sorry. Officially over. He's no longer married to Giselle. So you guys that think you have a shot, Giselle's out there. By the way, she's got a lot of bags, a couple kids, and she's got Tom Brady. So good luck to you. All right. Hey, before we talk more football, we got to talk about this World Series thing. Houston Pukes play the Philly Brats because, you know, Philly fans, you know, your fans suck, right? All right, they're obnoxious.
We got a lot of them. We got a lot of them out there.
I know it
too. So
you got the obnoxious fans, which is the Astros fans, versus the lunatics, the fans of Philly. By the way, you've been to some Philly games. You know what it's like, right? Don't wear the wrong color in a Philadelphia game, whatever sport it is, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I've been to the Eagles, I've been to the Sixers, and I've been to the Phillies, but I've never been to a Flyers game.
Oh, hockey boys, never been to a Flyers game. Can you believe
not
that?
In Philly. Nope.
Wow. No, not in Philly. I know you've been in Boston, but
yeah.
All right. Hey, by the way, I am rooting for Dusty Baker. I think the guy deserves to win a goddamn World Series. But I have to say, as much as those fans are obnoxious in Philadelphia and so friggin' violent, I like their spunk, and I like the way Bryce Harper. For the first time in my life, I like Bryce Harper. He's playing on fire. And don't forget, Shwarbs played for us last year. Man on fire, 46, 45 home runs, right?
Yeah. I love guys who step up in October in the playoffs. You know what I mean? I think it's nice to see. So
what do you think? What's your prediction?
Man, it's hard. I mean, I was just talking about this too with a couple people from Philadelphia. And I did pick Philadelphia to make the playoffs this year, which that was a stretch to begin with, and they did. And now it's always nice to see these like kind of underdog-ish type stories come to fruition. And it's hard to root for the beast. I mean, we all had Yankees, Astros, Braves, Dodgers. I mean, those were the teams that got the bye. They were the 1 and 2 seeds. Everyone everybody, all 4 of those teams got knocked off with the exception of Houston. So. Yep. It's kind of like they're the big boys, right? So to root against them is kind of fun. So I'm rooting for Philly. I want Philly to win, but I think at the end of the day, the Astros, man, they're stacked. If I had a bet on it, I'd bet the Astros in the series. I think it could go 6 though. I'm going to say Astros in 6.
So do you agree? I say it's the Stros starting pitchers versus the Philly bats. That's the key right here.
Yeah, right. You're right. You got Verlander, right, to start the series, and right there, I mean, he could, if he silences their bats and puts up a W and gets that first win out of the way, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. So we'll see. By the way, here's my prediction. The Pukes, as I like to call the Houston team, they win in 5, but if this thing goes 7, the way Philly's playing, they're playing with house money, that goes to 7. And if Bryce Harper or Kyle Schwarber has to come up in the top of the 9th inning, because it played at Houston, right, in Game 7, with a runner on in a tie game, I don't know, man. Philadelphia might take that one at that point in time. We'll see.
All right.
All right, let's get to college football because it's starting to heat up. We've had a couple of good weeks in a row now. Finally, we're seeing the cream of the crop start to rise a little bit. By the way, speaking of the cream of the crop, I want people to stop picking on the Big 12. I know they will not win the championship, but they get the best games the last few weekends. If you say have a Big 12 versus a Big 12 team, those are the best games right now. Don't you agree?
They have been. They have an
Yeah.
Oklahoma State and TCU's play. I mean, there's just some teams out there. They're playing really
From top to bottom, unlike the SEC where there's 4 or 5 good teams and everybody else sucks, and you know what the 4 or 5 good teams are going to crush the other teams, right?
Yeah,
The Big 12, you don't know what's going to happen.
right.
You don't know.
Right. But
Hey, by the way,
let me give
go
you the update on the season standings here. So last week, once again,
Woo.
he pulls off a 3-1 week in college against the spread. Z and G Money 2-2, not bad. But on the year, PB 19, 12-1, 7 games over 500, pretty good. Z 17, 14-1, 3 games over 500, not too far behind, a couple of games back. G's still pulling up the rear big time, 11, 20-1. So, like we always say, if me or Z, or both of us have the same pick as G Money, we say we're in trouble, and there's a reason for that.
PB, you're doing well. You're finally creeping up on 500 for the 3 years of our show. That's awesome. I love it. Hey, by the way, my Heisman pick right now, believe it or not, we talked a lot about the big guys, right? CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Herndon Hooker, Tennessee right now.
He's looking
Get
good.
this, PB. 27 touchdowns, 1 interception in his last 10 games.
Yeah, he's playing on fire right now. Tennessee is looking really, really good. And I haven't looked at the Vegas odds lately, but he's got to be creeping up there.
He does.
He has to.
I think Bryce is out of it right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's still going to be a good quarterback class, though, I think.
Yeah. And you still could see a running back, but yeah, definitely good quarterback class. All right, let's talk about our picks real quick here before we get into a little pro football. College foreplay, as we like to say. Hey, by the way, a little foreplay. All right, sorry about that. Ohio State, 15.5-point favorite at Penn State. Night game. I don't think it's a whiteout game. Maybe it will be, but it's at Penn State. The rankings say this should be a closer game, but I think Vegas knows something. What do you think?
Yeah, and that's exactly how I approached this when I saw the 15.5 number. Because really, if Vegas wanted to tease money on both sides, you think they would make the line like 13.5, 14, and really make it interesting. 15.5. That's an interesting number. And when Penn State went into Michigan and got their doors blown off, I lost all respect for what I thought Penn State was capable of. And Michigan, to me, and Ohio State are kind of, in that same class. So I'm laying the points this week. I know it's a lot of points to give in a Big Ten matchup, and I know it's a lot of points to give when you're on the road, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to lay 15.5, and I'm going to take Ohio State.
By the way, I used to be a big fan of Franklin, but it's time that Michael Keegan Bradley takes over this head coaching job.
So,
you get the humor in that. That's they equate each other because they look so much alike.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with that.
All right. Ohio State, by the way, you, me, and G Money all have Ohio State on that one covered. All right. Number 19, Kentucky. This is a good one. Kentucky is one of those SEC teams that actually are starting to play with the big boys. They go to number 3, Tennessee. We just talked about Hooker. 12-point favorites. What do you think?
Yeah. And Kentucky has impressed me at certain points in the season. I mean, we saw Florida beat Utah team to open up the season, and Utah, some people have the CFP, and then Kentucky comes into Florida in the swamp and beats them. So Kentucky's looked good at times. It's just which Kentucky's going to show up for this game. I'm going to lean on the side for just what you said. I mean, Hooker to me is playing better than any quarterback right now in college football. They're at home. That place is an absolute madhouse, one of the largest stadiums in the entire country. Yep. And I think they hold like 103, 104,000 there. So I'm going to go with the Volunteers, and I'm going to lay the 12.
I'm with you as well. G Money has Kentucky, but I like in Neyland Stadium, as it's called, 106,000. I looked this up today.
106.
They're all going to be rooting. And by the way, did they get the goalpost back? I forget.
It's still in the river. So now when you kick a field goal, you got to kick it out of the stadium, and it's going to land in the river somewhere, and then you'll be good.
Nice. All right, here we go. Oklahoma, Big 12. You know I had to have a Big 12 game. Oklahoma State, number 9 in the country, goes to number 22, K-State. Believe it or not, K-State's a 1.5-point favorite in this. Yeah. What do you think?
I feel like this is a trap. Just like last week, my one loss was the LSU game. LSU was at home, and they were actually giving points to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss seemed like they were, especially with that blowout. They blew at Auburn, I think, the week before.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this team is like doing really well. How is LSU favorite? And I'm kind of looking at this game the same way, like it's a trap. But I'm going to fall into the trap again. And just like I did when I took Ole Miss last week and lost, I'm going to take Oklahoma State. And I'm probably going to lose again because for some reason I think K-State's going to take this one. But I love the way Oklahoma State's playing football. They blew out who they play, whoever they blew out last week. But
right. Yeah, they had a big one.
Yeah,
Texas. They blew out Texas.
They blew out Texas last week.
We picked that game. We picked that game last week.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take the points with OK State. Take the point and a half.
G Money's taking K-State as well. That's reason enough for me. But I am going with a school from Oklahoma. Maybe not the school, but I'm taking the Oklahoma State Cowboys to win that game outright.
Okay.
All right, number 15. You mentioned him a minute ago. Ole Miss. They go to Texas A&M, the most underperforming team, I think, of college football this year. Texas A&M, who supposedly bought their entire roster, which is not paying off, not money well spent. Yeah. But I think maybe they could turn around, maybe not. G-Money is Texas A&M. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a bounce back game for Ole Miss. I think if Ole Miss had taken care of business with LSU last week and was still undefeated going into this game, I'd be a little concerned this could be a little trap for them and they might lose. But the fact that they lost to LSU the way they did, I mean, they lost pretty big. I think they find a way. They go on the road. They find a way. Like I said, big fan of Kiffin. I think they go in and beat A&M. So I'm going to lay the 2, take Ole Miss.
I'm going to take Ole Miss as well. Yeah, for sure. And by the way, it's one. It's one. We're betting on it as 1.
Okay. And G-Money has A&M.
A&M, he does. I mean, I would not be surprised, but I'm going to roll with, for your reasons, I'm going to roll with Mississippi. All right, let's go to NFL Week 7. Oh, my God. We got some storylines to talk about. First of all, Tampa Bay with the loss last night, the loss last week to Carolina, which to me was even worse. I mean,
lost the week before to Pittsburgh.
Baltimore's a playoff team. You can understand, but Pittsburgh and Carolina, Petey, what do you say?
Yeah, I think the Bucs are the only thing the Bucs have going for them is the division that they're in. I mean, that's the only thing that they can hang there. And you know what? Tom Brady is the type of guy that can kind of figure things out as the season goes on, build connections with some of these receivers. He's obviously off in some cases. Even with Mike Evans, a couple of times last night, I was like, what Evans ran either cut the wrong way or they weren't on the same page. So they'll figure that stuff out. And I still wouldn't want to play them, especially if their defense is healthy. I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs, even if they get in as the 7th seed. They couldn't get in as a 7th seed. If they get in, they're going to be a 4 seed because they're not going to get as a wild card.
They got to win the division. Yeah.
Right. So they'll be in as a 4, which means they host a game, right? So I wouldn't want to be that team going into Tampa. Even if Tampa was 8-9 and wins that division, I wouldn't want to do that. That being said, I still think this team is not where they need to be. I think Brady's done after this year. He's not a loser, so he's not going to put up with losing games or finishing under 500, whatever happens with this team. So they're missing pieces right now. They're missing connections on offense. There's just something there that's, and I don't know if it's a Todd Bowles thing or if I need, I can't put my finger on what's actually going on with that team right now.
That's a good point. I've heard, I paid attention to a little of the talk shows today, and Bowles is taking a lot of heat, including from some folks, on his side of the fence, like Stephen A. Smith and people like that. They're like, Todd Bowles has lost the locker room and he's lost command of this team. Unlike Bruce Arians, who, even though he was not, seemed like to be the guy because he was kind of aloof, he had the pulse of the team. And so, and by the way, I think Brady takes a sack next week, goes down, and he's done. I think even if he could still play, he retires after that injury. He can't go on. Right now, he looks worse than Matty Ryan, and Matty Ryan got benched, right? He looks worse than him. He looks worse than Big Ben last year at this point in time. I mean, he throws are going in the ground. That throw last night that he missed to Evans in the end zone should not have been floated. That should have been on a line. Evans had his man beat by 10 yards. It's a 20-yard pass. That has to be rifled in there.
Yeah,
hate to
I
say
agree.
it, maybe. You know what? I've
Nobody
seen
can.
over 200 games in his life. Over 200. I've seen him in college. And of course, the Patriots. I've probably seen at least two, maybe 210, 215. And I've never seen him this bad.
Yeah. And he always liked to drop it in a bucket. That's what he was known for. You could put a bucket in the corner of the end zone, right? And he could stand out on the 30-yard line and he could just like throw that pass. And so I think it's in his brain. I'm just gonna drop this and keep dropping this in the bucket. But you're right. That pass should have been thrown on the line. When you're that open, cutting that way, there's no question.
And by the way, the other thing he could also do was throw it on a dime when he had to put it in close proximity, right? With no space.
Yeah.
He could put that in there. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's too bad.
But
And by the way, the other guy that doesn't look so good. So obviously we talked about Matty Ice. We talked about Brady, Rodgers, and Green Bay. I mean, I don't think they make the playoffs either.
Yeah, I mean that was my. I have four quick takeaways, but my top one was the Packers. They're hurting. That loss to Washington. You got Taylor Heineke, who's quarterbacking for the Washington Commanders. I mean, there's no reason why you should have lost that game. Washington's not even a playoff contender in my mind. And Packers look dysfunctional right now. They look like a dysfunctional football team, and I don't get it.
Do you think? Let me ask you a question. Is it possible before the end of the season, Jordan Love could take over?
I'm going to say no, for the same reason that Brady won't. I mean, Kyle Trask isn't taking over the Bucs.
No, but he wasn't a #1 draft pick, right?
Yeah.
They didn't trade up for him. If the Packers, first of all, the same thing as the Bucs, they're going to win the division at this point in time, and I don't think they're going to do that. So let's say it's week 16, they can't overtake Minnesota.
Maybe, yeah. If you're talking last game or two of the year, maybe.
All right, what else you got?
Yeah.
What's a couple other
I
goals
think
before we go to
my
break?
other three. I think the Jags are better than that 2-5 record. They played a hell of a game against the Giants. They almost beat them. You saw that play. It came right down to the goal line.
Yep.
I think they're a legit team. I think they're pretty sound on defense. I think they have offensive weapons. ETN is starting to shine. I like that team. I think they're better than 2-5 record.
But what surprised me? Why did they trade Robinson though? The running back.
Right. I mean, they must have a ton of confidence and faith in ETN. I mean,
but you need two running backs in the NFL.
You need to, right? You need to. Maybe the trade deadline's not till Tuesday, so maybe they'll make a move there. Who knows? I'm thinking Cam Akers. Cam Akers, I think, would be a nice addition in Jacksonville. They got to do something with Akers. Obviously, Akers, he's out again this week. Him and McVay just hate each other for whatever reason.
Right.
So I think that would be a good move if they could do it. Oh, and that would be kind of cool because you'd have a Florida and a Florida State in the backfield, right? If you had ETN and Akers, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
My other takeaway: Pats not prepared. They were not prepared for that game. It was a poorly coached game, a poorly ran game. I don't know what Belichick was thinking. Maybe he was like, I'm going to get some reps in for Mac Jones and take him out. Maybe that was his strategy was. But that whole game was an absolute disaster, an absolute mess.
And PB, what about the whole fact that the fans wanted Zappe like from the second series? They were cheering. It was unbelievable. I happen to like Zappe. But I like Mac Jones.
They're uneducated fans. I mean, they're just like they won 2 games. They like it, whatever. But you watch, even the passes Zappe made, that was a blown coverage. That had nothing to. Zappe actually threw a bad ball.
Yeah.
No, you're Jacoby right. Myers. That was a bad throw, but Jacoby Myers recovered nicely. He was wide open. Mac Jones probably would have put that right in his hands. So, and again, that was blown coverage. That had nothing to do with Zappe versus Jones. That had to do with the backfield of the Bears that blew coverage. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm not. But Mac Jones is the star of this team. He's the better quarterback. He'll be in there the rest of the year, barring an injury. I'm not worried about that.
But having said that, my concern is this. He does not look the same as he did last year. I don't know if it's because Josh is gone or what, but Mac Jones does not seem to have a good grasp of this offense. And by the way, the offense with Zappe is much different. Formations are much different. They're more under center. This reminds me of what happened with Bledsoe was asked to do stuff differently than Brady was when Brady came in. And it's the same thing here. You ease the offense up for Zappe. Go back to an easier offense for Jones. He can run it. He's a perfectionist. Don't give him this complex thing that Matt Patricia can't call.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. My last one before we get to our picks. Seahawks over Chargers, I thought was a huge game. I think Seahawks are on the rise. They could get into the playoffs this year. That AFC West is turning out to be NFC West is turning out to be a very, very interesting division. And I'll tell you, the Chargers on the other end of that, the loss, we were talking about the AFC West being the best division in the history of football. The Chiefs might be the only team that makes the playoffs in that division.
You're right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. That's for sure. By the way, the NFC Beast are probably the best division in football. All right. Hey, speaking of that Seattle team, this is why we're in the entertainment business. There's a tease. Pick 6. We're going to start out with the Giants. Go to that Seattle team. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, and I keep going against Seattle. I had Seattle on the bottom, contending with like Washington, Chicago, and the likes to get the best draft pick. and all of a sudden, they look like a legit team. But the Giants just find a way. And I also knocked Brian Daboll at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to take that back too because Daboll's doing a heck of a job with that team. Danny Jones, he's not the flashy quarterback like a Joe Burrow or whatever, but he manages games well. You got Saquon, who's healthy. Their receiving corps is unfortunately a little shaky right now. But But you know what? When you have Danny Dimes running for over 100 yards last week, and you have Saquon, I mean, let's put this, the Seattle defense also, their pass defense, their defensive backfield is not that strong. So can Jones figure out a way to get the ball downfield and exploit that a little bit? We know they just got rid of Tony. Tony went to the Chiefs, actually. Tony. So their receiving corps is even more depleted now. But that being said, I'm still going to go in with the Giants on this one. I might regret it. I know G Money's taking the Giants too, which is probably bad for me, but I'm taking the Giants.
By the way, you spoke about Daboll. Another guy on the redemption tour is none other than Pete Carroll. 70-year-old Pete Carroll is showing that he can coach, and maybe he was pretty wise about Russell Wilson after all. And also, Geno Smith. I've taken a lot of crap for years because I said Geno Smith's a better quarterback than he's shown in the NFL. The guy throws the prettiest ball since Warren Moon, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we had a Geno Smith versus Russell Wilson on our show last week, and we all agreed Geno Smith was the better call. I don't know why.
I'm taking Seattle.
Too bad he couldn't work things out in New York with the Jets because he could have been a hero in New York. But but I'm glad he's found his way.
You know what though, PB? I think he likes being on the West Coast. Not as much pressure. I mean, obviously Seattle has fanatic fans, but other than that, being on the West Coast, right? I like the way Geno's playing. All right, I am taking Seattle. You guys got the Giants. I'm going Seattle. All right, Cards and Vikings. Speaking of redemption, Kyle Murray needs a little redemption, but Kirk Cousins, this is about the time he starts to go into a slide. What do you think?
I know, and the Vikings are probably the quietest 5-1 team in the history of the NFL.
Oh, yes.
Aren't they?
Yes.
They're just kind of quietly doing their thing. And I saw them play live a couple weeks back when they played Miami. And, granted, Miami was starting Skylar Thompson that day. But still, it was good to see them play. And I just like this team. I like the Vikings. I think they're, I've been picking them for the last many years. So hopefully my pick will come through this year. But I like them. I think they're okay. I mean, defensively, they can struggle, but they're offensively, when you got Justin Jefferson, you got Dalvin Cook, and you got Cousins, and
Adam Thielen is a pretty good number 2.
He is. He's solid as heck. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's 32 now, but I'll tell you, I'll take him all day long as that slot guy or that guy who just gets separation like nobody else in the league, I feel.
And he's got great hands.
So I agree with you. I'm taking Minnesota.
I am too. I got Minnesota. I know G Money's got the Cards, and I would love to see Kyler and OU boy, but maybe they were right with his contract. Maybe he needs to watch more game film after hours. All right. Cincy is starting to wake up. They go to Cleveland. The Browns, I just don't know what it is. That team, I thought I like Jacoby as a backup quarterback, but I don't know what is this Brown team just does not have any magic at all.
Yeah, and I think that's a coaching thing. I think we're not going to see what's his name there in future years. But And they're there minus Chase. Jamar Chase is out 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yep.
So he's not going to be part of that equation. But
They still got two good receivers other than that, right?
Right. They got Boyd and Higgins.
Boyd and Higgins.
And they got Mixon, which
Out of the backfield. So they got Boyd and Higgins as wide receivers, Nixon on the backfield.
Right. And Joe Cool. And you got Joe Cool at quarterback. So I don't like what I'm seeing out of Cleveland. I do like what I'm seeing out of Cincinnati. I still have Cincinnati winning that division. Losing this game this week and, not staying on pace with Baltimore would be bad for them. So I think they could take it. I'm taking Cincinnati.
I do too. Cleveland's been a disappointment, and they continue to do it. All right, here we go, fans from around the New England area. The Pats go to New York to play the Jets, and I'm going to hate to say what I'm going to say in a minute, but what do you think? By the way, PB, given the way Buffalo's playing and given the way some of the other AFC teams are playing, this is a must-win for both teams. A must-win.
Yeah, it is. It is. And if New England wins this game and goes to 4-4, they may have a 9-8 type season and get themselves in a position to vie for a wild card in some crazy way, shape, or form.
I think 10-7 is the only way.
10-7 might be the only way. The Jets, man, they're 5-2, right?
Yeah.
They're legit, and they got, Breece Hall, sad story. That guy was just ripping it up. I mean, as a rookie, I love what he was starting to do. And now they got Michael Carter and James Robinson, they're running back. Zach Wilson, I'm still not sold on. He does not put up numbers at all. He's not really.
I'm with you.
And I think, and the receiving core is okay, but I mean, you got guys like Corey Davis, you got the rookie Garrett Wilson, and their defense has been legit as well. I mean, the defense not top tier, but they're right there. They're not bad. They're not good. I shouldn't say they're not bad. They're not awesome. They're good. And I think Bill Belichick just has a thing with the Jets. I think if he has to be even though other teams might be better, have better records, I don't care if the Jets are 2-9 coming into the game against Belichick. He's like, we're going to go in and we're going to kick their butts. So for that reason, I think this is going to be a game where a lot of people who are in their survivor pools who are going to say, okay, this is my chance to actually take the Jets, right? I'm going to take the Jets because when do you pick the Jets in the survivor pool, right?
Yeah.
And I think those people are going to unfortunately be out this week because New England and Bill Belichick will find a way to win this game. I'm going to take the Patriots.
Ooh, G-Money does as well. That's what I think. By the way, Matthew Judon once again has an outstanding first half of the year. Outstanding. 8.5 sacks, leads the league. But this D, similar to last year, after week 10, is already starting to fade. We saw it in the second half last week. I'm taking the Jets. I hate to say it.
Oh, all right. Well, last week I had the Jets to beat Denver, and both of you had Denver.
Yeah.
The Jets won on the road in Denver. I think they come home and let up a little bit. I think a little trap game for the Jets. This trap game.
All right. Packers Bills. This is no longer a marquee matchup at all.
No, I'm surprised you put this in our pick 6, but okay. I mean, it makes it easy for me. Buffalo all day long. I don't have a question in my mind. This game should be an absolute blowout. The only thing I can see is Rodgers finds his connections with some of his, I think Aaron Jones has a big game. I think Romeo Doubs might step up and have a big game here. I think the Packers will score 21, 24 points just because they're always going to be behind. But Buffalo's going to score 38 or 42 points. So
I will say this. The only reason why I put this in there, I'm picking the Bills and so is G-Money as well. Here's what I'm going to say. This game is reminiscent of last year, the Monday night game when the Pats went into Buffalo. I know the weather was awful. I don't know what the weather's going to be like up there. But the one thing the Pats did was they ran the ball down their throat and then threw a little bit of play action. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones can run the ball down their throat. And if they stop running the ball, there's no one better than Aaron Rodgers play action. Here's the recipe. If they can do that, they're going to run the ball first, then this changes. But I'm still going to go with the Bills. But if that happens, I would not be surprised.
I think Russ should be the OC for the Packers.
I could change that offense in a minute. 49ers and Rams. 49ers I just read this 7 straight over the Rams. 7
Yeah.
straight.
I know. I'm riding that. Well, first of all, we do have to take into account Debo is out. That could hurt a little bit. He was listed as out a couple hours ago. But Brandon Ayuk he got 11 targets the last 2 weeks in a row. He's gotten 11 and 11 on his targets. So Ayuk is really stepping up, and he's caught touchdown passes. So and Kittle's healthy again. You know,
if McCaffrey touches the ball 25 times,
you got McCaffrey now. Right. So you got a lot of things, and the Rams could miss the playoffs. I mean, they go from Super Bowl to not making the playoffs. I think I ended up having them like 10-7 this year. So I didn't have them like repeating and doing this crazy stuff. Stafford doesn't look good. Cooper Kupp's the only guy on the team that looks good. I mean, A-Rob's not doing much. Akers and McVay, as we mentioned earlier, can't stand each other. He's not even playing, which means Darrell Henderson's your number one back. This team doesn't have enough weapons to keep up with San Francisco. I think Jimmy G and San Francisco takes the game.
By the way, you know, I get San Francisco's and G money. You mentioned a key point. I don't think that A-Rob is the problem. Some of the other guys, I think to your point, Stafford, when you look at it, you get Stafford, you get Matty Ice, you get TB12, you got Russell Wilson, and you get Rodgers. We got to change into the guard. The guys that have been elite quarterbacks since 2007 in this league and beyond for Brady, obviously, it's over. I think you're going to see a whole different regime in the quarterback ranks next year running the tables in the NFL.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there's some guys this year too who drafted who haven't even like stepped in yet that could end up, taking over and showing.
Yeah.
Look at Desmond Ridder as an example in Atlanta, who eventually is going to take that job away from Mariota.
Oh yeah.
And then this draft class coming out is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think we're going to see this is that period of time when some of the names we're used to saying are going to fall off a cliff, and we're going to have this new regime, as you say it.
I'm going to have to finally get rid of my shirt, it looks like.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Thank you, Tom. It was a great career. We'll talk to you soon, man. Take care. Have a good weekend.
All right.